Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. What is deemed to be magical work is using energy to transform matter. This occurs in all worlds, but we are going to look specifically at how this magic materializes in the physical world. It is more difficult to carry out magic in the physical world than it is on the higher planes of matter. This is analogous to theorizing about something and then trying to put it into practice. So, you may be able to think clearly and desire rightly, but making this all a reality needs a deep understanding of the law. Nevertheless, it is in the physical world that the white magician does their real work and where they encounter their failures. They often find that their grasp of mental reality is not what they thought it was. This leads to incorrect activity. Lars writes in Cosmic Intelligence, in the work of creation, the white magician avails himself of the departmental energy or ray ruling at the time. When the third, fifth, or seventh rays are in power, either coming in at full meridian or passing out, the work is much easier than when the second, sixth, or fourth ray is dominant. So, where are we now? I am sure you are well aware that the seventh ray is making an appearance and will end up being one of the easiest rays for humanity to work with. The seventh ray is a building ray, so we have the opportunity to build a new civilization, stepping out of our rapidly decaying Piscean construction, which, let's face it, did not go too well. Under the influence of this newly arrived ray energy, numerous unconscious magicians will be facilitated in their endeavors. This will lead to the rapid growth of unconscious psychic phenomena. How will it show itself? In the spread of mental science and for the thinker to acquire and create those physical benefits they desire. Before you get all carried away, remember this has to be done within the law and for right purpose. Magic applied selfishly reaps painful dividends. When you work with thought through the processes of magic, you are working with the lesser builders. They are the devas on the mental plane that will execute the focus of your attention. They are the ones who know how to use involutionary energy, which in this case are the elemental essences, secondary matter, that go to make up the thought forms. If we try to work directly with secondary matter, we get a label stuck to our foreheads that reads Black Magician. It is only they who work directly with involutionary matter. The white magician works through knowledge, love, and will to evade the attentions of the lords of karma. If living matter is manipulated for selfish ends, expect a knock on your door one day. So, things are looking up. The seventh ray is coming on stream. Monads in the future generations, if they choose, will perform white magic. Will have environmental conditions that will make such possibilities much easier than they are today. Currently, the fifth ray is passing out of expression in our worlds, but its influence will be with us for some time to come. The third ray is in full meridian, and the seventh ray, as discussed, is the new kid on the block. This bodes well for outcomes that we, as humanity, wish to achieve in the physical world. The caveat is that we must ensure that the orientation of our efforts is positive and unselfish. We must have purity of motive, working within the laws of nature and of life. Add to this the prerequisite of having a stabilized emotional envelope. No more highs and lows, just peaceful calm. This envelope, controlled by the persona, must align with the causal envelope, controlled by what is euphemistically called the soul. The term higher self is often used, but this term refers to the solar deva, not the monad. To achieve great work in magic, the disciple has to be fully aware of the cycles of day and night. This determines when to work and when not to work, when to speak and when to refrain from speaking. It is in these matters that the working disciple often makes mistakes. The law of periodicity is not just a cosmic and solar systemic phenomenon. It applies to planetary beings, all the way down to us repulsive monads. How does this periodicity apply to us? This is where things get interesting. Between the process of breathing in and breathing out comes a period of stillness. Not too long, hopefully, or you will have a problem. But it is in this short period of stillness that the most efficient work on magic can be done. If a disciple can learn to use these interlude periods, they are able to participate in the work of the planetary hierarchy for the consciousness evolution of all monads. These interludes, it may not surprise you, fall into, you guessed it, 3 categories. The first interlude is fairly substantial. It is when the monad withdraws from an incarnation into its causal envelope. This is a serious interlude. Breathing is less of an issue in this case. The second interlude is linked to a particular incarnation, where the aspirant has to learn to discern and come to utilize the interludes that present themselves. They have to register the difference between periods of intense outgoing activity and periods of withdrawal. This period of stasis may seem as though it is not offering anything of interest to the monad, but the monad has to come to realize the opportunities that life affords them. Lars tells us that 2 groups of humanity work with what would seem to be no measurable changes between physical activity and passivity. They manifest a steady urge to work. The first group are made up of monads who are at the 1 young and 2 civilized stages of development. They do not work to understand the mental impressions they receive. They react to physical needs and desires and use their time to satisfy themselves. It is difficult to see how such lives manifest cyclic activity. The second group is the direct opposite of the first group. They are so highly evolved that they have been emancipated from the purely physical. They have, according to Lars, reduced their physical and emotional desires to a minimum, so that they have learnt to preserve a continuous activity based on discipline and service. We are told they work continuously with cycles and have a reasonable understanding of their nature. These individuals have learned how to remove themselves into their causal envelopes, in a state of contemplation. From here, they are able to effectively control the work in the worlds of humanity, from subplanes 47.4 down to 49.7. This is what all disciples are learning to do, and what all initiates have already achieved. The third kind of interlude, which is what we are interested in when it comes to the performing of magic, is the period of intense stillness achieved and utilized during the meditative process. This is the holy grail for all aspirants, for without this ability, there is no chance of working with magical powers. It must be accepted by us that not much more about the process of doing magical work in these periods of interludes is going to be communicated exoterically. The disciple can work out what is necessary. For the rest of us, it is enough to know that it is possible. It should be an eventual goal if we wish to serve in the ongoing activities of the hierarchy to facilitate the evolution of humanity. There is a great danger in giving out detailed instructions on the workings of white magic. The number of disciples out there in the wild are exceedingly few. It is, however, worthwhile considering the qualifications required before an individual is able to receive such knowledge. This allows the aspirant to develop what is lacking in them. Why is it unwise to impart such esoteric information to the masses? If people knew how to actively create thought forms rather than the garbage they spew out randomly at present, the mental plane would be flooded with thought forms of a purely selfish nature. These forms would be much more powerful than the random static we all emit daily into our mental envelopes and the surrounding environment. Elementals created from our whims and fancies that have real power would be a mess that we would have to collectively clear up one day. It is one thing pumping our mental garbage into the mental world. It is another thing fashioning creatively thought forms that are of a selfish nature. All aspirants realize that they have to clear their minds, purify their hearts, seek truth above all things, and unselfishly serve life. If these qualities are not acquired, the great secrets of magic are not going to be imparted. Until the aspirant is able to function for prolonged periods in their causal body, they are not ready to receive the secrets of white magic. They are just aspiring to practice white magic. Too often students of the occult think they understand these processes and diligently practice what they think is active magic. There are 5 requirements to practice white magic: purity of thought, dedication, love and service. Other than that, keep eating your greens, exercise regularly, and meditate. Meditation is the 5th requirement. In the last presentation of this series, we will look at black magic and conclude with some simple rules not to become a black magician, but a white one. Thank you.